Days Gone came out at the end of PS4's life cycle in 2019, just 1 year before we got the PlayStation 5. So did this game really need a remaster? Let's compare how the original game looks and runs versus the remaster, everything from the loading times to the graphics and frame rate. The remaster is also PS5 Pro enhanced, so I'll talk about the differences between PS5 and PS5 Pro. Let's first start with the loading times. That has been improved and the difference is pretty huge if you're comparing back to the original PS4 from 2013. Going from dashboard to in-game, PS5 takes 7 seconds when you're loading up Days Gone Remastered. The original game on PS5 isn't bad. It can do the same thing in 1 minute and 15 seconds. Now that 12-year-old PS5 original console takes 2 minutes and 42 seconds. That's enough time for you to go and make a cup of coffee. Days Gone Remastered, as you can see, it does make you wait less. There's still a loading screen and 47 seconds might be slow by PS5 standards. Days Gone did get a PS5 patch in 2021. The big advantage there was really the game running at 60 FPS. You can see here the original game running on PS4 versus the PS5. I mean, visually the PS4 Pro and PS5 are really gonna look the same in terms of the graphics and resolution, but that 60 FPS advantage is perhaps all this game really needs, and that you're gonna get with even the original game on PS5. Thankfully, Days Gone is one of those games that's already included with PS Plus, and the remaster upgrade only costs about $10. That's not really that much. It's a pretty consumer-friendly move by Sony to not charge a full price for the remaster. So how much value does that $10 add? Here's the original game on PS5 versus the remaster. For this comparison, I stuck with PS5 Pro's exclusive enhanced graphics mode. The original game runs at checkboard 4K resolution. It's essentially using an upscaling technique to deliver that sharp image quality, and really that looks almost as good as the remaster version on PS5 Pro in terms of resolution. The big difference between the original and the remastered is really the lighting. The new update makes the game look a little bit darker. The colors do pop more and the game now looks a bit more vibrant. The lighting, the shadows, that's really where the main advantage is with that remastered version. Overall, this gives the game a more realistic presentation, especially during the night. The original game was just a bit too bright, and now the remaster really sets a much better mood when you're playing the game with that update. Is this something groundbreaking? No, not really. And that much more important 60 frames per second, well, the original game already offered that on PlayStation 5. On PlayStation 5 Pro, in Pro Enhanced mode, the game looks better in almost every way. But if you don't have a Pro, then the remaster is a bit worse on the standard PS5. The base console has two graphic modes, quality and performance. And then the Pro, of course, gets its own exclusive enhanced mode, while that 30 FPS quality mode renders the game at 4K. The 60 FPS performance mode renders that at 1440p on the base PS5. And it's not using any upscaling technique like FSR to sharpen that image. That means the original game on PS5 actually looks a lot sharper if you want to play in 60 FPS. These side-by-side images clearly show that difference. It's a bit odd why the remastered game in that performance mode doesn't use some sort of upscaling technique, but hopefully that's something that gets added in a future patch. Another difference I noted right away between the original and the remastered is the field of view. The original game doesn't have a setting for field of view, while the remastered does. There's the default field of view of 70 and that you can adjust between 50 and 100. The original game seems to be set around 77. It's a bit odd why the remastered doesn't follow that same default setting and instead kind of lowers the field of view to 70. That's one setting I would recommend you change as soon as you boot up the remastered game. Increase it to at least 77 or heck, just go all the way to 100. After playing with a larger field of view, I just can't see myself going back and lowering that setting. Now let's go back to the remastered version, and as I said, there's 3 different modes. Quality mode renders at native 4K and targets 30 FPS. This is going to give you the best graphics and image quality. Performance mode renders at 1440p on the base console and 1800p on PS5. PS5 Pro, both of course at 60 FPS. Enhanced mode is exclusive to the Pro, rendering at 1584p and then upscaling to 4K using PSSR. In terms of the resolution and FPS, quality mode is identical on both the base and the PS5 Pro. The difference is really the lighting. Pro does seem to have better lighting and the game looks a bit more vibrant overall. The 60 FPS performance mode runs sharper on the Pro, and once again the lighting quality and the shadow quality do seem to be a little bit better on the Pro as well. If you do have a Pro, enhanced mode is really the best way to play this game. You get that must-have 60 FPS, and visually the game looks almost as good as native 4K. Speaking of frame rate, the game did have issues when it first launched on that original PS4, but even that's been patched up now. The base console now runs the original game at a solid 30 FPS at pretty much all times. There's only some minor drops of a frame here and there. PS5 also runs the original game without any FPS drops or performance issues. Pretty much a solid lock 60 FPS during all the gameplay and cutscenes. The remastered game also runs really well, no performance issues, no drops. Quality mode's a solid 30 FPS on both the base console and the PS5 Pro. Performance mode's a solid 60 FPS on both consoles as well, and enhanced mode also delivers a solid 60 FPS on the PS5 Pro. Now, I talked a bit about the field of view settings earlier and how I prefer to just increase it to 100. Well, there's a warning in the settings about that increase also increasing graphical load. So can the PS5 and PS5 Pro hold a solid 60 FPS even with the field of view set to the max? Yes they can. Both consoles are solid lock at 60 here with the field of view set to 100 in performance mode. So go ahead, play with the exact settings that you want without worrying about frame drops. PS5's DualSense controller also comes into play here. In the remastered version, you'll feel the rain dripping on that controller. There's also, of course, the adaptive triggers. All of that adds to more immersion while you're playing the game. And from a technical standpoint, that's really what you need to know about Days Gone versus Days Gone Remastered, and of course also how the new game runs on the PS5 versus the PS5 Pro. Other than the technical improvements, remastered version also gets some new content. There's a new permadeath mode, a speedrun mode, and then the new horde assault mode. I mean, of course, that's not a whole lot of new content, but for $10, I mean, that's good enough. There's also a whole host of new accessibility options, including the ability to change the game's speed. In terms of a review score, I would give this game an 8 out of 10. It's really the best way to play Days Gone Remastered, especially on the PS5 Pro. For the rest of the video, I have a bit more side-by-side gameplay with that FPS counter shown.
What did you do, you son of a bitch? Hey, no.
Yeah, well, Cope kind of frowns on that. Not a fan of it myself, if you want to know the truth. Give drifters a bad name. What if you'd shot Manny? You know, who'd fix my bike then? Stupid piece of shit.